Okay, please begin.
Yes, good evening, Doctor, and good evening to everyone.
Good evening, Justin.
This is Justin representing Group A, and these the members for Group A: Kasozi Emmanuel, Kasozi Nicholas, Lowag Jude, Nassaz Sarah, Bambara James, and myself. Yes, we are presenting the roles of CIO in an organization. But before we present the roles, we started by understanding who the Chief Information Officer is. Chief Information Officer is a corporate executive in charge of information technology, strategy, and implementation in an organization. Or you can say someone who oversees the people, processes, and technologies within a company. Then we went ahead on the roles of a CIO in an organization. We addressed these roles basing on two sections. That is the selection section and then the implementation of the system. Then roles of the CIO when selecting a system for the company. The first role is selection of the best system for the organization. It's the role of the CIO to select the best system for the organization from the many presented by the bidders. As selecting, different bidders present different systems, so it is the role of the CIO to select the best among those presented. And in the case study, which was given to us, we see the operation manager selecting the Unitrack system since it was meeting the company needs, and also it was powerful enough to provide room for future growth and also user-friendly. Then we see another role for a CIO in an organization during the selection bit of it, which is budgeting. A CIO is responsible for budgeting. Like you can see before selecting the best system among the many, the CIO has to put in place the budgeting bit of it such that the company doesn't get into losses. When we refer to the case study, the operation manager made some calculations to present to the executive committee, but he ended up having a difficult budget that he could not even justify. If you read the case study, it is located. It's indicated he made a budget, but he couldn't even justify it. So if the company had a CIO, it would be his role. Then a CIO is also responsible to carry out analysis about the new software. A CIO is responsible to carry out analysis about the new software to be implemented to confirm if it will be helpful and supportive to the company needs. In the case study, the operation manager looked at the number of software packages and selected Unitrack software, where I also got some discount on the needed new hardware. Okay, the Unitrack provided the software and the software needed a hardware. So the operation manager went ahead to bargain and got a discount on the hardware which was needed. Then the CIO is also responsible in controlling and reducing internal operation costs. According to the case study, the operation manager was able to achieve an excellent discount on the new server hardware, which made him feel this low cost would be another justification for the approval of the project. Then another role is business engagement. It's the role of a CFO to engage all the stakeholders of the system, like all the staff, management, executive, and all who are going to use the system. In doing so, this helps the CIO to make sure he's getting the system which is helpful to the users by engaging them as he's selecting the new system. Then we are now going to the roles of the CIO when implementing the system. My colleague is going to start from here to discuss the roles of the CIO when implementing the system. Like I said, we discussed them in different sections. Roles of the CIO when selecting a system, and now we have discussed them, a few basing on what is in the case study, though there are many others, but the one we discussed were based from the case study. So my colleague is going to start from the CIO roles when implementing a system.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Justin. Sorry for that. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening.
Good evening, colleagues. My name is Kasuzi Nicholas. I'm going to take you through the role of CIO when implementing a system. To start with, it is the operation management. We tried as much as possible to link everything to the case study. So I'll be explaining each point, linking it to the case study that was given to us. So during operation management, the CIO is responsible to follow up on all the operations process. For example, in the case study, you will see that by February 2006, that gentleman, I'm sorry, I might pronounce the name wrongly, so I will forbid myself from pronouncing it. So that gentleman had nothing regarding the purchase of the new system. So if they had a CIO in place, it would be, or it is the role of the CIO to do all that. The next point is project management. In the case study, you find out that near the end of March, that gentleman asked Kovac how the project was proceeding, and his response was the hardware was delivered, but he was too busy with Wilson's project to work on. So you will find out that this project, yes, they had tried to put it in place, but there was no one to coordinate it or to manage it. So in the end, it failed to work. The next point is customer management. According to the case study, when specific questions were raised by staff about word processing and commissioning processes, the two gentlemen that had started the project had no answers to answer to these customers or to the staff. So due to the fact that the staff had a lot of questions and there were no answers, the project wouldn't work. So if they had the CIO in place, the CIO would be responsible for customer management. He or she would be able to answer all the questions to the staff. Teamwork building. It is the role of the CIO to build teamwork among members on the project through distributing responsibilities of each participant in the project. In the case study, you find out that that gentleman put all the blame on himself. He claimed that the failure of the project was because he did not establish teamwork, nor did he made a clear process responsibilities. So if they had a CIO, it would be his role to build teamwork in the company. The next point, and the very last point, is putting up training policies. It is the CIO that is responsible for managing the conversion, for example, from the old to the new system. It is the CIO's responsibility to do the backups, to do the data transfer from the old system to the new system. So in the case study, you find out that the marketing staff who were unable to access the new computer system to handle their account. They needed training, but due to the fact that they had no CIO, they couldn't do it. So it is the role of the CIO to train everyone and putting up the policies. I beg to submit. Thank you very much. Any question, any additions, subtractions is welcome.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. I think from your submission, I see how you've tried to relate the role of the CIO and how the lack of
Yes.
brought about. But just also to bring out something, Justin, you said that I forget his name. Lessiter did keep some people updated, but I believe these were only, I think they were board members or something. The people that he kept loop into the negotiations.
The executive.
Yes, but not the users.
Yes.
Not the users. Yes. And we can see from the hierarchy of the organization, it has a very, very clear organizational structure. Yeah, very, very clear organizational structure, but we don't see any engagement. So at the end of it, you see a disjointed, the failure of the system to catch on really showed the lack of a CIO in implementation of this system. And then on top of that, the organization also has its management. It has a sales and marketing. It has finance. It has HR, and so on and so forth. So it has a very clear organizational structure. He also neglected to see that organizational structure in its setup. So let's have the next group also look at that. Can we have the next group, please?
Thank you, Dr. very much.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Nicholas. Could we have the next group, please?
Good evening, team.
Good evening to you.
This is Group C.
Okay.
These are our members.
Okay.
So let me start.
So please start.
Okay. So for the case study that was given, we are starting with the introduction. This is describing the organization at Mid-South Chamber of Commerce. MCC is a regional chamber of commerce based in, sorry, I can't pronounce that city, serving businesses in the surrounding areas. We also looked at their mission briefly to find out what was their vision and mission for the organization, why it was started. It was to promote economic growth and prosperity, connect businesses with each other, provide services and programs to their members. However, during their operations, they found out that they had challenges, and from the case study, we are able to find out that they were getting competition from other business organizations. They are trying to attract and retain members, but this was a challenge on their side. They also kept on trying to evolve needs for the business in the changing environment that they are in. They also had poor management approach to information technology usage by the staff and all the members at the organization. So because of these challenges, we saw that they needed a chief information officer. So the chief information officer, from the description that we are able to get, this is a person who guides the organization in its digital changes. Through their expertise, the CIO is able to provide in-depth understanding of IT security facilities that a company can deploy. They also navigate through the complexity of IT management while shaping the roadmap for the company's overall objectives and vision. So at MCC, we saw that because of the challenges that they were having, we saw that they needed a CIO who would play a vital role to prevent the mishaps and the mishaps that they were facing at the organization. So for question number 1, at MICC, the role of the CIO would be one, first of all, to guide in the strategic guidance of the organization. And here, point number 1 is the CIO is needed to identify needs and objectives of the organization. Here, the CIO needs to do an assessment of the organization, interview stakeholders across all the departments to understand their pain points, to understand their workflows, and expectation of a new system that they want to work at the organization. By doing this, the CIO is able to avoid making rash decisions or the users having a system that does not work according to the needs of the organization. Then also under strategic guidance, the CIO is also able to do a cost benefit analysis for the organization. The cost benefit analysis to help such that the CIO is able to not only consider the initial purchase of the system, but also ongoing maintenance, what is needed to train the users, and the potential return of investment for the system that the organization may need. By doing this, the organization is able to make a sound decision on the long-term value of the system and also avoid overspending. The CIO also, for point number 2, will lead the selection process for point number 1, that is the vendor selection. Here, the CIO would be involved in the vendor selection for the system that is going to be used at the organization, thereby getting involved by giving the list of requirements that are needed, sending and inviting proposals from multiple vendors, conducting demos, testing the functionality, how this system will be able to function, is it compatible with the environment and the user experience. So with these vendors, when they bring their proposals, they bring what they can offer the organization, but also make sure that their system will be user-friendly to the users. In this vendor selection, the CIO would minimize the risk of selecting a system that cannot be used by users. Here, you can limit complaints, people failing to work, and incompatibility of the system to the users. The CIO also can lead in negotiating and contracting in the contracting process. The CIO here will ensure that in order to have a stable system, it would ensure that the system that is available to the users has warranties, the agreements which are available with service level agreements, stating what the system will do and not do, what timeline should maintenance be done, what response time for the vendors to troubleshoot, and also hope to know that if this system is used, is it favorable? Will there be any updates that are needed? Then the CIO also will also be managing the implementation. Under implementation of the system, here the CIO will have to be involved in the project management of the system. Here he has to establish a team that is going to work on the system that is going to be used with refined roles and responsibilities. This way, we'll be able to get a detailed plan with what should be achieved, which deadlines are supposed to be achieved, which communication channels that these vendors are going to use, and the timeline that is supposed to be used for the development of this system. This way, if this is assured with project management, the CIO and the organization will ensure that there is efficient execution of the project when they follow the project management plan. Then also the CIO has to be involved in the change management of the system that is going to be developed. Here, you will have to develop a comprehensive change management strategy, showing that if anything is going to be changed in the system, an upgrade is going to be done, maintenance is going to be done, who's going to approve, how likely these changes are going to affect the system, and won't users be affected. By doing this, the CIO will ensure that there is minimum disruption of business, and also ensure that there is maximum usage of the system by the users at the organization. Then also under managing implementation, the CIO is also involved in data migration and security of the system. Since he's the overseer of the project, the CIO will be involved in the data migration process with the ultimate security and accuracy. And make sure that as the data is migrated, several measures are taken care of, that is creating of backups, developing disaster management plans, implementing security so that system is not hacked by external users. Then lastly, what you can do at MICC is to provide ongoing support and perform system monitoring. Here, when the system is implemented, the CIO would ensure that after its implementation, there is a user support program for the system so that users who are not able to use it initially are trained so that they're able to use it. For example, it ensures that there is a help desk whereby users can communicate their challenges and get solution to them. They can also maybe have user manuals so that users can read and see guidance on how to use the system. Or if possible, they can have online resources that can be available to users so that they're able to use the system. Then under performance monitoring and adjusting, like any system, we have to continue to monitor its performance, see where to improve, and advise where necessary to make changes. So by having a CIO, in conclusion to question number 1, the CIO can transfer the experience from a costly disaster to a successful story, as they'll be able to avoid the pitfalls, make better decisions, and ensure that the system effectively serves the organization's need. I go to question number 2. For question number 2, we are advised to discuss how to approach the case study with the skills and knowledge and strategy to lead the importance of ICT management. So from our analysis from the case study, we saw that in order to solve the case of MICC, we had to use various methods, and one of them is use of data-driven analysis. So here, in order to solve the problems at the organization, we had to first gather information about the system usage, the current system that is in place, how it is performing, give examples of the industrial trends that are in the environment, what are the competitors, what are their strategies, what emerging technologies are they using. By this way, we are able to make informed decisions on the system that you are going to implement at MSCC. You also need to identify the key points and opportunities. The key points and opportunities at MICC, we have to use various tools whereby ICT is being used so that we could potentially evaluate the performance. So by identifying the key points from the users, we are able to find unutilized resources, areas of improvement, which value can we add, and also what strategies we can use to improve the performance of the system. We can also develop data-driven recommendation. So basing on the analysis at MSCC, we would initiate ideas that address critical needs, unlock efficiency gains, align MIC strategies. For example, if the data is showing that there is staff engagement is declining, we have to find ways so that we encourage this, or we find ways to motivate this member so that he's able to participate again in the activities. Then also for another point, we also have to do strategic alignment and prioritization of different things. For map, well, the first thing here is to map ICT in initiatives to the organization goals. Like in the beginning, I'd shown the mission for MICC. So we have to align ICT so that it is able to support the organization's goals, so that they're able to benefit from the use of the technology that we are introducing. We also have to develop a roadmap for ICT improvement. Here we'll have to prioritize the initiatives based on the impact, flexibility, and resource requirements. For example, if we have a project and we have to roll it out in a phased manner, we have to provide user requirements. We have to provide user requirements on it so that the user is able to use the system favorably. We also have to promote transparency and communication. Like for any project, communication is very important. So at any stage of the project or system, we have to communicate the deliverables, the deliverables that are expected, what timelines we are expecting, so that users are engaged at every stage of the system. And lastly, we will have to involve technology explanation and integration. As Group C, we advocate that we have to stay updated on the emerging technologies in the changing environment, so that we are able to advise the organization on which technologies we can be able to implement, so that users are able to use the system probably. We also have to explore opportunities for digital transformation and also offer a culture of innovation. We have to encourage the users at MICC that they have to come up with ideas to improve their work, so that they're able to do work favorably. Thank you.
So thank you, Group C, for that. I didn't see a lot of relation with the case study, although you did strive to bring out the roles of the CIO, but I think just to give it more meat, relate to the actual case study, things that were mishandled because of the lack of CIO. But thank you still. I think it was a good presentation. I see you have your mission there, but specifically to the blunders that were made by the Chief Operations Officer, who decided to take on the role of CIO. But still, it was a good presentation. Can we have the next group?
Yes, good evening, Doctor and class.
Good evening,
Okay,
Martin.
good. Thank you. Doctor, this is our group. We are 6, and this is our presentation. Alvin, kindly take it up.
Thank you, Martin. I hope everybody can hear me. My name is Alvin Michael Aliu, and this is Group B. Martin, I think let's move on to the next slide so that we can begin. Yes. we say in our introduction, we say a role of a CIO, he plays a strategic role in managing and leveraging technology for the benefits of the organization. And we came up with 5 main areas where a CIO plays a strategic role. So we started with strategic planning, and we said he aligns technology initiatives. Sorry, I'm using a phone, so I'm not able to see everything. It's okay. Let me continue. He aligns strategic initiatives with the overall business strategy. Now here, what we're trying to say is, I could give an example. The CIO can align technology initiatives, let's say by developing a roadmap that integrates, let's say, cloud solutions in order to enhance agility and supporting the company's goals for expanding market research. Then needs assessment. The CIO conducts a needs assessment based on their understanding of both business and technology. For example, leveraging industry connections, the CIO selects a reputable, I'm used to cloud computing, so most of my examples are going to come from, let's say, cloud computing. So, for example, leveraging industrial connections, you may select a reputable cloud computing service provider with a proven track record for, let's say, reliable, for scalability, reliability, and ongoing support to host critical business applications. Then vendor selection. Here, the CIO, of course, has to select the best vendors, the most reputable vendors who have a proven track record for providing, let's say, whichever system or whichever service that the company needs, and necessary to support critical business processes and applications. Then project management provides overall technology projects by ensuring that they are on track, delivered on time, and with budget. My example I could give here, the CIO may probably focus on overseeing, let's say, an implementation and ensure that all project goals and milestones are met. And then maybe what this can help is it can manage risks in the project, and of course the new systems that are trying to be worked on can be deployed on time and within the allocated budget. And then with change management, the CIO provides an oversight of the change management efforts, ensuring that employees are adequately trained and prepared for the initiative. An example I could give here, you can, let's say, a comprehensive change management initiative by ensuring that employees, let's say, receive the best training based on the change. Let's say we put a new system into place. He has to ensure that all employees are up to speed with the new system and ensure that all resources based on that change are allocated smoothly, and generally the transition to the new platform should be very smooth, and also promote efficient workflows within the organization. And then lastly, with technology infrastructure, said assessment of the organization's overall infrastructure, for example, whether the existing infrastructure can support the new system or if upgrades are necessary. For example, while assessing the existing infrastructure, the CIO can determine that the network upgrades, let's give an example of network upgrades. They are necessary to accommodate the increasing traffic data generated by, let's say, the new system that we are trying to put in place. But this is just generally to ensure optimal performance of the technology infrastructure and also reliability of the infrastructure. Thank you. I would like to request my colleague Marcel to take on from here.
Oh, okay. Marcel, I don't know if Marcel is on, but okay. Let me just jump in from here. Thank you, Alvin. We're looking here at the specific skills that should be possessed by any CIO, and in this case, if we correlate this with the case study, so these are some of the key skills that the CIO should have. And in this case, if we begin with strategic thinking, and here we look at the ability to think strategically and understand how technology can contribute to the organization's larger objective or mission or goal. Then leadership is basically the ability to lead or inspire and motivate a team, because along the way you need to have your team buy into the need, or into the need to achieve the organization's goals. Then business acumen simply means the ability of you as a CIO to speak a language that is understood by the business. In this case, in most cases, CIOs seem to be very techy in nature and fail to articulate technical knowledge and make it granular so that it is understood by the senior management, who are in most cases not really technical. Then effective communication, you need to be able to convey your technical concepts. You need to be able to sell your idea, that so that you're able to get senior management to sponsor, because at the end of the day, it is senior management that has the money. They are the ones that own the investment. So you need to have very clear communication skills so that you get them to understand why maybe you're suggesting a solution or that kind of thing. Then collaboration is the ability of you as a CIO to collaborate, to get an understanding, to get buy-in, to get all the different departments so that you have a relationship with each of these departments, so that along the way you will have a successful implementation of your technology initiatives. Then innovation is really being abreast of emerging technologies and understanding how these can be used to improve the business processes, or how do you leverage technology to enable the business to have a competitive advantage against the others in the market. Then risk management is basically the ability of a CIO to assess, in most cases, cybersecurity related risks, and ensuring compliance with regulations, and implement strategies to mitigate potential threats. Project management is pretty much you having the ability to ensure that all ICT initiatives are delivered within budget, are delivered within time, and the intended what we call benefits are achieved. Financial management simply looks at your financial management skills. How this looks into budgeting, looks at cost control, looks at return on investment analysis for all the investments that you do as ICT. Then vendor management skills simply goes into a whole cocktail of skills that you need to manage vendors. As we know today, most ICT departments are outsourcing IT functions. So you need to have very clear skills in as far as onboarding, managing vendors is concerned, from negotiation to contract management to monitoring the adherence to the SLAs, this service level agreements that you sign with these vendors when you're onboarding them. Then the potential challenges that we see that a CIO can encounter today, and those that we see in the case study, is misalignment with business needs. And here we look at the chosen system might not be able to address core business challenges. And this leads to wastage of resources and indefinitely frustration. Then poor technology selection, you pick a solution that does not speak to your organization's needs. Then inadequate implementation planning, you don't have a very clear roadmap, you don't have defined roles, basically you don't have a very clear plan on how you're going to implement your ICT initiatives. Then resistance to change is basically when you say deploy a solution and staff are looking at it as a hindrance, and they look to their day-to-day operations. They are looking at it as something that is wasting their time. They do not appreciate the good side of the benefits that are coming with this deployment. Then data migration and integration, then a lack of ongoing support and training, which looks at insufficient training and ongoing support that could have left employees struggling to use the new system and hindering its full potential. Jesse, I don't know if you're on. Well, I can continue. And the potential opportunities out of this is a clear understanding of needs. The failed implementation could be an opportunity to reevaluate business needs and identify the right technology solutions to address them effectively. Then improved selection, an improved selection process is that the experience can inform future technology procurement by emphasizing thorough vendor evaluation, feature alignment, and user needs assessment. Enhanced change management, this basically looks at if you have a clear change management process, basically you are able to manage the potential negative impacts that could arise from poorly managed changes. Then stronger security focus. As we know today, of course, there is a huge risk of cyber threat. So with a very good, as a CIO, with a strong security focus, then you're able to counter those. Increased awareness of the CIO role. The case can serve as a reminder to the value of a CIO that the CIO brings in overseeing technology initiatives, ensuring alignment, managing risks, and driving successful implementation. Then how can organizations ensure successful ICT adoption and avoid the pitfalls experienced by Mid-South chambers? Still goes back to what we've tried to explain already. The planning and needs assessment, a clear identification of the exact pain points that the new system is intended to address. You don't just deploy a system because because out of feelings. It has to be backed up by the needs of the organization. Timely involvement of stakeholders. You need to get buy-in of stakeholders across the organization, especially the teams that you intend to use this system to drive smooth adoption. Vendor evaluation and selection. Evaluate different vendors and solutions carefully. Consider factors like functionality, scalability, integration capabilities, vendor support, and total cost of ownership. Do not just go with the vendor simply because they are the cheapest. Cheap is always expensive in the long run. Define a project plan, definitely, to give you a very clear indication on how on the timelines within which to deliver this project, which resources you're going to allocate, the risk mitigation strategies. As we know, every project usually comes with its own risks that you need to identify and proactively come out with measures to mitigate the same. Then change management and training, already spoken into. Encourage feedback and address concerns promptly. Be open to feedback from employees and address their concerns promptly to ensure user satisfaction. Else, you'll have a system that you've deployed and everyone is running away from it. And it ends up being an idle system that becomes an idle investment. And in conclusion, in essence, the CIO is a key player in the modern organizational landscape, facilitating seamless integration of technology into everyday facets of the business. As technology continues to evolve, the role of the CIO will remain dynamic, requiring continuous commitment to learning, innovation, and strategic leadership. Out of this sentence, I'll just say one thing. The role of a CIO maybe 20 years ago is very different. There are a lot of changes in what the head of IT or CIO was doing 20 years ago and what they are doing today, simply because of the very huge change in technology and how ICT is run today. As today, as Alvin already spoke into say, there's a huge use of cloud computing. We are seeing a huge use of vendors, and all these things come with unique risks. So in an era where information and technology are central to competitiveness, the CIO stands as a steward of an organization's digital future, ensuring that technology becomes a strategic enabler rather than just a mere operational necessity. The CIO serves a bridge between technology and business, translating technological capabilities into strategic advantages. From our team, thank you, Madam, and team. That is what we were able to gather. We submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin, for that presentation. Can we have the last group, please? He said this should be year one. Andrew, is your team ready? Or is it Walter that is going to share?
Yes, Andrew is to share the screen.
Okay.
Yes, Andrew is to share the screen, Doctor.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Walter, and that's my group members, year one. Andrew, could you go to the next slide? That's just our names and registration. Okay, in our introduction, looking into the case study of Mid-South Chambers of Commerce, we realized that according to the case study, they were actually having problems to implement the new system, whereby they needed a immediate intervention of a specialty of a CIO to come in and then help find a solution which is immediate, because they needed to really implement a new system at the same time. progress in the business level. So you find that now the role of a CIO was more actually so much needed in a short period of time for them to achieve that in a short period of time, according to the case study. Next slide. Andrew. So first of all, identifying what a CIO role would be in like to perform according to the case study was one of it to identify that a CIO would first of all identify the strategic vision of the chambers and then aligned it with the business strategy. Align it with the ICT strategy so that they can accomplish, like they find that whatever, because you find that ICT is supposed to be an enabler of a business. Now, if it is not an enabler, then it makes the problem. So the CIO would identify, first of all, the strategic vision of the chambers, then they'll then align it with the ICT strategy, which you could realize that you find that it was clearly very hard that find that they didn't have a comprehensive ICT strategy. So that one gave them a very big problem to implement the new system. Now, so what could the CIO would have done was like, hello, the screen has went off. Andrew, your screen is off.
I think he may have lost his connection. I think Andrew may have lost his connection.
He has lost the connection. Let me see if I can share.
Okay.
My apologies, Doctor.
It is okay. It's okay. It's understandable.
Oh, sorry, you're back? Andre, okay. Thank you. So you find that what a CIO needed to do was to actually to do to conduct or maybe come up with a comprehensive analysis of the organizational structure, and then come up then set up a roadmap how they're going to have the ICT initiative aligned with the organization vision at that time. Next slide. Andrew. Oh, thank you. Another thing, one of the roles the CIO was to do was to find out whether the technology, was to find out whether the technology is having no, Andrew, the previous slide, was to find out whether the technology has make an assessment on the technology or the infrastructure, if it is having, can go hand in hand with the ecosystem. Because you find that when they were more relying on the external consultants for the hardware and the software at the end. So when you realize, first of all, you find that the financing department ahead was preferring always to outsource instead of actually developing or maybe them coming up with new system and all that. For him, he was preferring, instead of saving money, let us just outsource these consultants. They come do us for the job, and that is all. So you find that that was a very big challenge for them, whereby they needed, the CIO now would have to come up with, conduct and maybe an exclusive audit from the chambers, and then come up with an existing technology ecosystem that would be feasible, with a feasibility study to assess the suitability of the technology that they want to implement, both in the hardware and then the software. Next. Then you also, one of the roles of the CIO was to make sure that to have a governance and then risk management in place, a governance framework and risk management of all, maybe for the project, the data migration, conversion of all the, maybe the data files and all that. So you could find that it was evident, according to the case study, they are having problems backing up data and then lacking contingency plan resulting into major setback during the implementation. Yes, you want to update, back up this file, and you find that some of the files ended up being corrupted in the new system. Then you're having some kind of others who got lost. So all that, they didn't have any governance framework. I don't know maybe how to mitigate that risk at that time. Now the CIO would help come up with a governance framework, which is very robust, and then identifying potential risks that in the due process of deploying any new system would help them cover up that kind of risk in the shortest period possible without affecting the business of the chambers in the long term. Next, please. Also, realize that the CIO needed to engage all the stake needed to have but then have in place that what the organization change leadership in the current set of the organization by then, before bringing in a new system. What's the organization change leadership? Do you have like a training maybe according to the leadership of the organization? Is there in adequate training of staff? Or maybe is there the resistance or some kind of that? Because you could see that there was evidence, but they didn't have training. That resulted into staff resistance. People, some of them saying, "Oh no, we don't know this system. No, I'm having a problem. I can't access this." Yes, it was evident. But why did that happen? Because first of all, they didn't carry out. We were supposed to train these people out before even you bring. We're already in a due process of coming up with a new system. Require from them, get the system requirement. Involve them in the coming up of the request so they can give you each and every, like in every department, what exactly do they want. If they want a functionality that suits maybe sales or maybe marketing, it will be at that specific department. So it makes it easy for them to understand, or maybe in the implementation it will be much easier. Even the training cost will be less. So you find that at the end of it all, the CIO needed they actually needed the CIO so much to come in and then come up with the aspect of understanding the organizational culture. Then at the end of it all, if maybe there are this kind of the chambers were not so much in such kind of maybe aspect, it brings in the assessment and then implementing change management programs into the organization so that people can understand. Okay, they get aware. They don't just get off by off guard, and then they come to work and find system is down and they start making queries. Just a little bit small orientation, then they understand that, okay, yes, in this period of time, they're going to have this and this, then they will be understand. But don't just come in the morning and don't then just give them the proposal and then expect them to understand and then even adhere to it there and there. Next slide, please. Andrew. So also one of the roles we find that a CIA would do in it can perform is having an engagement clause. When you take, for example, in a case study, you find that they didn't have there was no effective communication, leading to a lot of confusion among the staff. Because when you find out the vice president of the marketing department, mostly was the one actually emphasizing, because him coming with the proposal, then at the end of it all, taking it to the head of department, and then also trying to give or bring in the system analysis involved. But all these were not at the same page, because you find that the system admin analyst was having his own struggles, challenges of just not understanding, and this concern was not being actually taken into place. So and he will not communicate back. Then the head of department was not from the field of ICT, was basically from the finance sector. So you find that it was concentrating more into research, which for him he saw it was a little bit where maybe the organization needed most, and there was a lot of gap in communication in the process of implementing the new system in place. So that's when you find that if it is very necessary so that the CIO puts a link of engagement and communication throughout the stakeholders in the due process of deploying or implementing a new system in place. And so in the case of the, like for instance, like in the scenario of the case study, you find that he needed to come up with a stakeholder mapping and then designing tolerant communication strategies. Yes, you find that some people are a little bit rigid, they don't want maybe to change things, but you have to, they might be in a department which is critical, but they don't want to change how they do their things. So it is supposed to be now a role of the CIO to come up with that, a strategy, and if you know, what, I think this mapping can help all the stakeholders get involved. And then at the end of it all, it will be much easier in the implementation of the system before it just comes to the implementation bit. Next slide, please, Andrew. Vendor relationship. That's another role whereby a CIO performs. In the market, there are lots of vendors that comes in giving different services in different categories, whether software, whether hardware, whether all that. But then, how would a CIO has now tried to optimize all the vendors in the market for the own good of the organization or the chambers, for this case? Because now, yes, all of them will come, others just for the sake of business, yes. But then you as the organization, what is the best maybe vendor service giving to you? Is it just because maybe it's cheap or maybe it's expensive, or that's what per recommending? A CEO now would guide in that process of asking, you know what? This relationship with this other vendor is okay. He has been giving us good services, though it's expensive. So let's optimize this one and then use that. So it was evident they had issues with the organizational challenges, in the support for choosing vendors. The finance department was opting for outsourcing. For them, they say, no, let's use this one. So let's use this company because they have, maybe they can get, so they can save, have less time in concentration of the project, and then do other things in a different sector. But now, if you don't set a relationship, constant relationship, because sometimes one time some vendors are like, they're just targeting one time giving or like delivering of a service to an organization. You don't expect maybe a long-term provision of a service to you. So it's the same. So that's now the role of the CIO to say, okay, now which vendor in the market or a consultant in the market is actually would help us, because sometimes you do not have the money, but then that agreement comes in. You have like an agreement, an MOU, whereby even if you don't have the money at the moment, they can give you maybe a good service and then it's paid later. That would help. And then the last one, Andrew, please. Andrew. So in our conclusion, or a little bit, you will see that we had combined the roles and then at the same time come up with the setting whatever the problem was there in the organization, the chambers were facing, then coming up with the aligning the strategies of the strategy of the organization, then together at the same time. So in conclusion, we realize that it is very, very important to integrate every strategies, and which helps like the easy implementation of any system in an organization. All these kind of strategies, you might end up having like a system, but then you find that the system not having the business strategy aspect of it. You are focusing more on the ICT, but then the business was not there. So it will make it hard for maybe some of the heads of departments, other stakeholders, without the specialty of ICT to understand what exactly you want or what the system will do. It could be through the system. It is like maybe a comeback for an organization which is crippling, like they are having issues. And you really have to prove to them or bring them all on board. That's why it's good to integrate all the strategies. Make sure understand them at the very beginning, and then bring them all together. Then involve the stakeholders, and then come up with with a good strategy, and then line all of them. At the end of it all, when you bring out the system, to find that even it might be easier to implement a project or a system within the organization. Thank you so much. That's all we managed to collect and then understand from the case study. Thank you so much. Back to you, Samit.
Thank you so much, Walt and team. Before we go further, I have a few questions. Did anyone find out about the systems approach? Did anyone find out about the systems approach? Hello?
Hello, Doctor.
Hello,
Yes,
we
yes. Yes, please. No, I guess no. It's an important part of ICT management. So first things first, let me briefly introduce it to you briefly before we go further into that subject. Let me just briefly introduce it to you. And then I'm going to ask you to have a think on it. Okay? Can you see my screen?
Yes, Doctor.
yes,
So we're just going to have a very, very brief look at it, very brief discussion. And then I'm going to ask you to go back and relate it to your case study. Okay? We all see this diagram here. Not so?
yes, we see. Yes, we
if,
see.
I think if any of you, if I asked you to envision where you work right now, just envision where you work, you can see the organization as a system. Yeah? A living, breathing, functioning system where you have several departments with defined business processes and activities. And most of the time, or all the time, each of these different functions feed other departments. So you have inputs from most likely your clients. They are taken through several business processes, and then you have an output at the end of the day. Yeah? Take an example. If I was to ask a number of our colleagues here are from a university setting. If you look at Emmanuel Kasozi, Justin, Jude, Walter was part of us at a certain point. I understand Walter has abandoned us. So just a joke, Walter. Essentially, if I was asked my colleagues, just to view the university as a system, you can see that the different components, how a student starts in the registry department, the student is sent to the faculty, the student is sent to the accommodation department, then the student goes through the system and eventually out through the registry department again. So it's an entire system, and each department has its defined business processes. Now, this is very, very significant for ICT management because that is how ICT must see the organization. Now, if we're to go back to the case study, where do you think Leicester went wrong as far as viewing Mid-South Chambers as a system? Where do you think he went wrong?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, please.
What I think where Lester went wrong, he was so passionate about having maybe like an effective and efficient system within the organization. So all in the due process of looking around, he picked a like maybe some system which is already working for some organization, which was Unitrack, and then just found that it would fit fit in within the organization because they were kind of doing the same thing, and then did not forget actually to, I think, how can I say, an assessment within the organization and get to understand first about maybe they're having different processes of doing things compared to the other organization. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other opinion on that? Anyone with an opinion on that? Okay. Perhaps I'll give you time also to look at it in your groups where Leicester might have failed to look at the system. And now, if you are the CIO, where would you start? Okay. And go on from there. So I'd first of all think about it that let's just look a bit further again at the systems approach. So if we are to look at the organization as a system, you'd look at the different departments. Some companies may have sales and marketing, others production, others may have research and development. Whatever their organization is, it has a specific structure. And each section, each unit has its own functionalities. So here we have a very small example of just some functionalities probably the marketing department may have, what the finance department may have, what the human resource department may have. Now, in having this view as a CIO, you can automatically begin to pick out what the needs are, okay? What the department needs are, information system needs are. Now, when you look at specifically ICT, the CIO may consider several functionalities for a system. You may want to see a specific process, some isolated process. Maybe the marketing department may simply want a system to input customer data. Yeah. So you may want to look at isolated processes that you want to handle. Okay. Finance may also want an isolated system to handle their data processing as finance. You know, so you in that situation, you find an organization which has silo systems. Okay, silo systems that function that are functioning in isolation within a department. Then you may have those systems which are they automate tasks, certain group tasks, either within a department or for several departments. Yes, for example, marketing may have certain group tasks together with finance. So a task automation system may be helpful for something like that. Then you have what we call integrated systems. Okay, I believe Umu's Zivaste system is an example of an integrated system. So this one automates complete business processes across the value chain. Now, bear to note in point that these are extremely difficult to implement, very, very difficult to implement. Now, my question to you is, where would we rank if I just do a new share? Hold on, if I can, I want to see if I can open up this. So can we see? We can see that the Unitrack system seems to be an integrated system. Okay, because it seems to cover several functionalities for different departments. My question, of course, would be, did Lassiter try to find out from the different departments their needs, their information system needs? That would be an important question to find out. Okay. Now, let me first stop there and ask a question. If we are to look at Mid-South Chamber as a system, would it be possible for us to pick out information system needs for each department and where those system needs may have been neglected? Would it be possible for us to do that?
It's possible, Doctor.
To look at let's look at the data that is needed, the business processes that are required, the data that information system requires. I'm just going to pull up an image which maybe can guide you on that. Do we see this image?
Not yet.
Let me. Can you see now the slide?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, yes.
Yes, Doctor.
So this is basically the components of ICT management. At the very top, you have the concerns or the needs or worries of stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders of any business?
Doctor, I think
Sorry? Yes, Martin.
Stakeholders can be, I can take them as, it can be parties or individuals that have vested interests in an organization. As an example, if it's say a bank, you have customers that have their deposits. You have Bank of Uganda that is a regulator of this entity. You have your staff who are interested in the bank because it's where they earn a living. So you have your internal and external. It's a cocktail of internal and external stakeholders. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. So like he points out, it's a bank, it could be the customers, Bank of Uganda, so on and so forth. Then internally, also your stakeholders are your users. Okay, your users, the governing bodies like board of directors, so on and so forth. Think again to the Mid-South Chambers case study. What were the stakeholders' worries and concerns? Were these catered for? Two, the second most important is an ICT strategy. So good enough for all of us in this class, we've been through that course unit, ICT strategy. And I mentioned at the beginning of this unit, of this module, that ICT strategy is an extremely important part. It goes hand in hand with ICT management. Yeah. So is there an existing ICT strategy when a system is being implemented, or selection or managed and so on and so forth? Look at again at Mid-South Chambers. Because we have a COO dealing with the matter and ICT is basically out of it, you wonder, what was the strategy? He definitely looked at the organizational strategy, but not the ICT strategy. Then you have the information system domains. Okay, here you have the data, the business process, the application, and the infrastructure. Okay, then on the other side of the spectrum, you have the life cycle. Did you notice the thing? The life cycle looks from requirements to decommission. What was the specific thing that happened in terms of life cycle for the Mid-South Chamber case study? What was one thing that really fell through? Hello?
Hello, Doctor.
Yes. Is the question understood, or maybe I was...
Could you?
Doctor, kindly recap just again.
Okay.
It wasn't very.
Yeah, there was something in the case study in relation to life cycle, the new system that was implemented. Wasn't there something in relation to that Lester had not taken into account, or a CIO would have taken into account? Does anyone recall? Something about support for Unitrack.
Yes, they were bringing out the Unitrack came in with some kind of support team to help in the implementation or guiding and
They brought in and then, but they were all, I think it was not. Their support was only up to a certain point. I think there was something like, if I recall, that there was a new phase of the system which hadn't been part of the original. Did you see anything to do with that effect? If you can just, what I would advise, go back to that case study and look at where there was a neglect to find out about the life cycle of the system, that it later on it becomes a hindrance, because by the time the system was already there and users had not picked it up, and yet they couldn't offer anything new to them, especially in terms of training. And the IT person actually seemed to be not available at the end of the day. So the system looked doomed for failure even before it was actually fully implemented. So these are the things that are the components of ICT management. That's the systems approach, what systems approach gives us. Okay? Now I want to stop there and request you to go back and look at this component, the systems approach. Okay? I'll put up this, there is more to these slides, but I just want to put up these ones simply to give you guidance as you go back to that case study. It is extremely important for us to pick up on the systems approach.
That's noted, Doctor.
Okay. So please look up also on materials on the systems approach. It will help you a lot, but have a look at it and then give me feedback on your case studies, just an addendum to your assignments. If look at Mid-South Chamber as a system, outline the different departments that are there and the requirements from stakeholders, at least from the discussions that they have. And then 2, this would be the concerns. Identify if any, there is an ICT strategy. Then 3, look at the information system domains. Okay? What data is required? What are the business processes and the applications that are necessary? What infrastructure exists or does not exist to support the new system? Then look at the negligence on life cycle. I really want us to have a systems approach to this case study. Is that okay?
That's fine, Doctor.
Okay. So now, so that is 1. 2, Mr. Nagenda requested that tomorrow he'd like to have you in the morning hours. I don't know if it's throughout, but he requested that. I don't know if he has contacted you on that.
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. So in the morning hours, you'll have that. So kindly use tomorrow also to look at the systems approach. Then next Friday, we shall take on from there.
That's noted, Doctor.
Doctor,
Yes, please.
before you go, could you please, because this is a very interesting case study, could you like give from the assignment you gave us, could you like give corrections or give what would have presented to you?
Okay. Now, one was you got the role of CIO and where the lack was in last sister's case, on the Mid-South Chambers case. Where I saw the lack was the systems approach.
Okay.
Okay, that is where I saw the lack, and I brought it out to give a systems approach to how the situation could have been managed. And that's why I'm requesting for you to go back and have a systems approach look to a solution, not just the CIO's role, but also if you were the CIO and you had a systems approach look, how would you handle Mid-South Chambers?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll put these extracted slides up for you so that they can guide you on how you'd look at this case study. The role of CIO, I think you all got that well in relation to your case study and how the COO most likely blundered on that. But now, when you see the CIO's role is not just, to get stakeholders' concerns and so on and so forth. The CIO should really look at the organization as a system. Really look at the organization as a system and handle the different components adequately. Handle the different departments. If it's an integrated system, how should he or she handle the implementation? If it is a silo system that is handling, for example, marketing alone, or finance alone, or finance and marketing, you're looking at automated systems. How would you handle it if you were the CIO? Would you take one department at a time and then phase the implementation? Would you still go for unitrack? How would you handle the life cycle, especially in terms of training? What were the IT capabilities of the organization? Okay, what were the IT capabilities? You notice they had only one IT personnel, not so?
Yes.
They had only one IT personnel who and that already is a risk, because as at the end we saw he was actually interviewing for another job elsewhere. They phased out the old system without fully training users on the new system. So should they have had a phased approach to implementation? Now, if you are the CIO using the systems approach, what would you do? So Vincent, that's the part that that for me, I saw lacking, and that's why I'm asking that if you could look at that as in your groups. Is that okay?
That's okay, Doctor.
That's fine.
Okay, let me put it up on Moodle. Just these few slides to give guidance on the systems approach.
Doctor,
So,
you're also requesting for this
yes.
recording.
For this recording, okay. Let me pass it on to Emma immediately. Okay, should I leave you people in the group for discussion, or should I log off? Hello?
Doctor, I think since we are in different groups,
Mm.
you can log off. We shall meet in our groups.
Okay, fine, Justin. Okay, thank you,
Yes.
everyone. Have a good weekend.
Nice weekend too. Thank you.
Okay, bye.